Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts and allowing everybody else to share their gifts in song. Now, this month's theme is community. And I wasn't paying attention to this month's theme. I wanted to focus on the Festival of Lights and different world religions and what they celebrate. Because I think there's a lot of things we don't know about each other that unfortunately create a sense of discord, fear, some anxiety installed in us that we don't even know where it came from. And I wanted to just talk a little more about that. So before I go to that, I do want to say last weekend I was in the hospital having a few procedures, and I am grateful for my beloved ministerial intern, Brother Neil, for stepping in and giving an awesome talk around community and Bodhi Day and Buddhism, so that you had an opportunity to see maybe something you didn't know much about, or maybe it gave you more curiosity to check something out. And so I had put down Islam. Don't know why I put down Islam. I had all these other things covered. Again, don't know why I put down Islam. Now, when it got to the time to actually think about Islam, I sat with that and said, what am I going to talk about? Wow. But then that reminded me, if we are part of the Center for Spiritual Living, where we embrace all people, most especially all people that are a little bit different than us, that's how we build community. We build community by not having everything look the same. We build community by expanding it so that everything that you're seeing is outward. You're not just looking at your little community inside in a little tiny building. You're looking at it as an expansion and saying, yes, yes, I want to be a part of an expansion. And if I have a mindset, if I have a belief that says, except for that, then that's an opportunity for me to look within and say, where did that come from? Now, I don't know how any of you feel about the word Islam, or what you feel about the word Muslim. Some people, it's a trigger. They don't even know where it came from. They're just kind of like reactive. And I was reminded in San Jose, where I am initially from, Center for Spiritual Living San Jose was part of a networking group where we worked with a lot of different faiths. And we would sometimes have like gathered roundtables with a subject and just share things. What's awesome is San Jose is right next to this little town called Milpitas, which happens to have the largest mosque in the Bay Area. So the imam, the head of the community, was very happy to have been asked to share. And he would come, and obviously Reverend David and he would sit down and talk about perhaps some parameters to show people and have people understand things that were more truth than stuff they made up. And it was amazing because we had so many opportunities to go to the mosque and go to women in one service, men in another service, heads covered in respect for culture, people coming to our community, having food and being mindful of dietary issues. And so for me, it was joyful to say, I didn't know about things, and now I get to know more things. And I get to ask my lovely brothers and sisters at the table to share something with me where I'm asking not out of some weird curiosity, but out of genuine interest about would you share? And what it did is it melted my heart to thinking, I want to continue to be the person that goes and exposes myself to things I don't know. So instead of being triggered by something, don't know, I can actually say, oh, maybe that's where that came from. I don't want that anymore. And so in our teaching, again, it's just this wonderful reminder. We have comfort zone. We have habits. We're not conscious of them many a time. And we literally entrench ourselves in that. And usually we have justifications, big time, as to why we have that. And yet, in our teaching, it's a continuation of remembering. How big do you want the container of your community to be? How big do you want the container of celebration of lights? Do you want your container to be? How big are you willing to say, oh, wow, I didn't know anything about that. I want to check that out. That seems cool. So, of course, I naturally wanted to do a little bit of investigation. And those that practice Muslim teaching use the book of Quran, which is their holy sacred book. And this is a quote out of the Quran. God is the light of the heavens of earth. He is like this. There is a niche, and in it a lamp. The lamp inside a glass like a glittering star, fueled from the blessings of the olive tree, from neither east nor west, whose oil almost gives light even though there's no fire. God guides whoever he will to his light. God draws such comparisons for people. God has full knowledge of everything shining out in houses of worship. And that's the Quran, verse 24.35. Now, I thought that was a beautiful verse, and it just reminded me, languaging, it's languaging. We all believe there's God. Call it whatever you want to call it. We study whatever we'll want to study. It is one known by many, many different names. And it is that divine one that is in and through all of us. And that is that common theme. Whether we choose to see it as a common theme or separate, I choose to continue to see it as a common theme with more information I get to learn about, as opposed to forms of separatism, because I feel uncomfortable. Little fun fact for you. The second largest growing religion in the world, besides Christianity, in the world, I said, besides Christianity, is Muslim. Now, I bet none of you knew that at all. I didn't. I was like, ooh. And so what that says is we may not know and understand things, but it is the fastest moving on how people are they're resonating spiritually. And so we have opportunities to either lean in and have an understanding so that we know how to share and connect with our brothers and sisters, or we could just kind of like put our head in the sand and go, no, that has nothing to do with us. And I just found this stuff interesting because, again, so many people are in their own little world. I mean, I realized as a Jewish religious scientist that anti-Semitism is alive and well. Do you think I'd like to really recognize that as the truth? It's the truth. I see it every day. So that just goes to show all of us, what piece do we need to participate in so there isn't so much separatism out of that which we don't understand? And what are we willing to do to explore? So again, the curious nature of me, I'm investigating festivals of light for the Muslim community. I don't know, but what I found out is that Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, in the evening through the 6-week celebration, the last week ending January 6th, is a full festival that is in Richmond, California, and it's at a large hotel and spa. and everything is decorated. There's festival activities with vendors and food and ways to explore culturally. And I was like, wow, it's 6 weeks long. Now, of course, that part of me that said, I want to go, I want to go. That's not part of my reality right now. I'm not to be in crowds. But it was exciting because I was like, wow, I had no idea. Like that's right down the street, so to speak. And it's this huge thing. And it shows that people come from all over the country to come to this celebration because it's a really huge, big thing. And locals come because it's such a very big, huge thing. I wouldn't have known any of this was right in my backyard if I wasn't curious. So I was just very happy to know there's ways that I can continue to expand, expand my own understanding of the Festival of Lights, expand my understanding of the Festival of Lights in my own consciousness, that I'm willing to see and say, it's all about light. We're all celebrating some form of light, even if it's that part of ourselves that is celebrating our shadow side or our dark side that we happen to be in while we work through and discover and move through things that shift us and expand us and move us to our next evolution. And that to me is the joy of the Festival of Lights and knowing bits and pieces of things that I knew nothing about, bits and pieces of things that I wanted to be able to be curious and say, wow, that's so cool. And so I just want to urge you, wherever you find yourself during this holiday season, being around different people from your normal community tribe, remember, do you want your normal community tribe? What does that even mean, normal? Do you want it to be normal? Or do you want your community tribe to be so bright and so reflective of so many opportunities and so many things that you get to light up more about, that you get to say, I'm so excited, I'm part of a community that wants to be about all of that. So I just ask you to be curious. I ask you to be curious, to take it in, and to just say, wow, you know what? Some days there's going to be different people showing up at our center. Why? Because Rev D's praying on that, number one. Two, others are praying on that because they want to feel that same experience as I do. And it's just the way life works. We're set in our mold and other people support us. Maybe it might feel like tough love to push us out of our safety box into the bigger expression of whom we are. So I invite us to take a moment now to go inward. Let's take a moment to go inward. Reminding ourselves we are the beloved daughters and sons of God, God known by so many names. And yet that same God is the part that beats within me and beats within you. And so knowing that that God is as close as my own breath, regardless of what I call it, what you call it, I celebrate. We celebrate knowing God has so many beautiful faces. And I am excited to be able to look at so many expressions of those beautiful faces. And if there's any part of me, if there's any part of you that needs to shake it up a little bit, loosen yourself up a little bit because you're feeling a bit constrained about it all, be open, be willing to at least acknowledge I'm feeling constrained and ask, does that serve me? Take a moment and shake it off again, and then ask yourself, what must I do? What am I willing to do so that I am in the flow in a greater way than I've been before? Knowing God's got this, and as I've spoken the truth and spoken the word and released it into the action of law, the only answer there ever is yes. So knowing that the answer is yes, we all get a chance to just take a breath, breathe inward, and say together, and so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Davine. That was beautiful. All right, give us just a moment. We're gonna get our musicians back up on stage for an encore performance.
I wanted to tell you something that I haven't even told Reverend Davine. At one point, Bill and I were Fulbright scholars in India, and we spent a whole month celebrating Hanukkah with all of our Muslim friends.
Wow. That's awesome.
Well, to add to that, in southern India, because there's like 10% are Christians, every holiday of each faith was celebrated by all. So it was something to see the Muslims, the Hindus, and Christians, etc., really out there all together, enjoying each holiday.
That's amazing.
And now we're going to sing Deck the Halls.
Okay. Deck the hall.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la, la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la, la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. See the blazing Yule before us, fa la 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 la. Strike the harp and join the chorus, fa la 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 la. Follow me in merry measure, fa la 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 la. While I tell of Yuletide treasure, fa la 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 la. Fast away the old year passes, fa la 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 la. Hail the new year that unlasses, fa la 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 la. Sing we joyous all together, fa la 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 la. Heedless of the wind and weather, la 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 la.
Thank you all.
Thank you.